Hey, this is Sean O'Brien Smith, and you're watching for BassPlayersOnly.com.
Hi everyone, John Liedman here. You're watching for BassPlayersOnly.com. Coming to you today from the 2016 Summer NAMM Show, Nashville, Tennessee, with our old friend Sean O'Brien Smith. How are you, Sean?
I'm doing great. How are you?
O'Brien Smith.
Yeah, a little bit Irish.
Just a little bit. Boy, you know, it wasn't all that long ago when we did a real nice feature on For Bass Players Only, and we talked about you and your musical upbringing and some career highlights. I remember names like Randy Brecker and Larry Carlton and Esperanza Spalding and some cool stuff that you did in the film industry. You had done some film scoring, and I know it's only been, I don't know, less than 2 years since then, but you're always busy, you're always doing some stuff. So some cool stuff. So bring us up to date on what you've been doing and say something cool.
Something cool. No, good God. And 2 years it's probably been all over the place, but a lot of fun stuff. The film scoring thing actually has blown up on me, which has been a lot of fun. It's grown. I started off, I think the last time we talked, I was getting ready to have one of my films go to Cannes for a musical company or a film company I work with out of Canada. Since then, I've launched my own production company based here in Nashville, and we're doing, it's funny, we call ourselves creatively bipolar in the fact that we will be a faith-based film one day and a horror film the next. But
is that the name of the company, or is that just?
Might as well be.
What is the proper name of the company?
It's actually another Irish nod. It's called Anam Multimedia, which is Gaelic. Anam is Gaelic for soul.
How do you spell that?
A-N-A-M.
Okay.
So, and it's funny because it was my one little bass player nod and Irish nod, because I'm like, all right, soul, how do we still make this hip? Let's do something kind of neat. So it came together. But yeah, we've been doing that, and we are steadily in film production most of the time these days. I've got a number of composers and other folks that all work with me, so if I'm out on tour, work's still getting done, which is a beautiful thing.
Yeah.
So yeah, we're having fun with it.
You know, I always think of Nashville as Music City, because that's what they call it, but how much of a center is the Nashville area for film and film production?
It's starting to grow. Luckily, with hit television series like Nashville, things have been starting to come in more and more. There's a lot more film production facilities here than people think. Primarily in television right now, but there are some very cool independent film companies heavily based in the faith-based industry right now for like southern parts of Nashville. That's actually where I spend a lot of my time. Is I've found a niche in that genre doing a lot of Christian films and stuff like that, but it's been very cool because it's steady work, it's very creative work, it's still fun stuff on the thematic side, because I can do nice big cinematic scores and things like that, or get really intimate. So it's been fun on the creativity level.
You are a well-rounded musician, not just a bass player. Not that there's anything wrong with being just a bass player, but the film scoring, that whole side of your career, I've always found very fascinating. But let's talk some bass stuff. I know you're deeply ensconced in the Nashville music scene, playing sessions and shows and things like that. So give us some of the highlights of that part of your career.
You bet. Since the last time we talked, I've started touring less and less for myself and gotten actually back into Nashville since I'm here with my production company more. It's been fun. I've been doing some more session work, various demo. There's one Highline project with a bunch of major artists I actually can't talk about yet, but there's some extremely huge names in that one. But one of the things I've been having a blast with is there's a country artist named Buddy Jewell that's had a number of top 5 hits. I met him a decade plus ago and have since rekindled that friendship and have come on board, and I'm now his musical director and bassist, as well as I'll be producing his next album. So it's kind of fun. I'm back in the Nashville scene, relatively heavy, but it's on a higher level now, which is a lot of fun for me, because I'm more in the production seat and picking and choosing what I'm doing on the bass side, which is actually really cool.
Yeah, that's a nice position to be in. And is the notation here standard? Everybody uses the Nashville notation, or do you occasionally find notes and circles and stems and that kind of music that most of us are familiar with, those of us that read music?
It's pretty rare to see notation still. There's a lot of number system stuff here. It depends on some of the artists where they may have originated from too. I recently did some sessions for Vince Gill on a big collaborative project, and for him, his background, he had some LA background session stuff and some other things, so we actually had some notation on that gig.
Are there some very heavy Nashville session players that are doing sessions all the time that couldn't read music if it was put in front of them?
Oh, I'm sure there are. What's interesting is both on the notation side and even on like standard chord charts, I've found that there's big, vast amounts of time where I don't look at either. It's just numbers. I've had periods of my life where I'd like pick up my real book and blow the dust off of it because I hadn't blown standards for a jazz gig in too long. And what's funnier is when I leave Nashville in that mindset and like try to fly to New York and use pickup players, and I'm calling numbers and they're looking at me like I'm calling Russian to them. They have no idea what's going on.
Oh, that's funny. Let's talk about your equipment. I know you're a big NS Design guy.
Absolutely.
Why?
Oh, wow. Primarily since I've known Ned now for, oh, good God, probably 15 years.
Wow.
I actually first started using Ned stuff when I was with Billy Ray Cyrus. At the time, I was using the Steinberger Synapse series basses with him, which was kind of funny. Part of it was just the big show thing. We're doing coliseums, and they like the fact that I'm running around with a boat paddle and jumping off of drum risers back when I still could. But it was funny. We had a bluegrass segment in the middle of our show, and I was using another electric upright company that hence we won't name. And it was so funny. I was doing a clinic for Ned. He was asking which upright I was using on the tour, and his exact words were, well, that won't do. And then all of a sudden I ended up having an NS Design in the mail sent to my house. And I was just like, once I picked it up, though, I was hooked. And everybody at NS has been extremely good to me over the years, between my jazz career, my film career, anything with artists. I've played my main NXT 5-string, literally thousands of shows. I don't know how many sessions, and I use it on almost every film score I do. Last winter NAMM, their NXT 4, they had a custom finished in a red sparkle that they took out to NAMM. And as soon as I got
How do I not remember that? I'm sure if I saw it, I wouldn't forget it.
It was straight up looked like a bass boat. It was gorgeous. But what was funny, as soon as they finished the NAMM show, everybody in S was like, oh, we know whose bass this is. And all of a sudden I'm getting an email from Corey going, hey, have you seen this one? And I'm like, send it. And then with the film thing, the more that's developed, I've since gotten bold and gone into the NS Design NXT Series cello. And I'm having a whole blast with it because we're tuned in fifths. It's a different tuning. I opted for the 5-string one just to push myself a little further.
That'll do it.
And then, inspired by Tony Levin's bass, I decided to take that even one more notch and got the fretted one. So it was, everything about it just screamed out of the box, which is typically me. Anything that's straight up normal, I'm not going to want to do. But it's been great, and that instrument's opened up a whole other avenue for me, because what's interesting with the way the frets react on when you're in pizzicato, I mean, luckily arco, the intonation, I don't sound like I'm hurting a bunch of cats. But the pizzicato is cool because of the frets. It reacts almost like a nylon string or a lute or something to that effect. So it's really its own instrument when you're going just straight up fingerstyle and pizzicato on it. So I've actually used that technique on 2 different film scores today. And I am in love with that part of the sound with it and trying to develop that into a thing along with my string arrangements and other stuff.
It's such a great line of products because I've interviewed Tony Levin and a whole bunch of other NS Design artists. And boy, and when I pick up the CR4 or CR5. I love those. The electrics are great too. But I had a very special opportunity to interview the man himself when I was in Germany for Music Messe. I sat down with Ned Steinberger and we had a great interview. That's on the website for basspleyersonly.com. Search Ned Steinberger. It'll pop right up. Well, let me ask you, it's great that you're still keeping so busy, you're in demand, and you have this other part of the career that's really taking off. What advice do you have for people that want to make a career in music? Maybe they're just starting out, maybe they've been doing it for a while. They want to go to Nashville, they want to go to New York, they want to go to LA, they want to play sessions, if there is such a thing, not like it used to be, obviously, a generation or so ago. But, young people coming up that want to have a career in music, what would you say to those folks?
Don't give up. It's a very extremely tough industry right now, just for the fact that the recording industry especially has changed so much. So the whole mold of it is trying to reinvent itself because everybody was used to the old business model as far as making records and everything because of the digital age. The good part about that for the folks that, again, like to be outside the box, this could be our next renaissance, and the fact that it's a wide open market to look for niches that are very unique where you can kind of find yourself. That's one of the things I've done is between the scoring and different type of instrumentation and different kind of musical approaches, I've kind of created my one little spot, and there's been 3-4 bass players I've connected with over the NAMM show floor the last few days are like, man, you seem like you're always working, and it's like I keep looking for the holes. And so as you're growing and preserving your craft and decide you want to do business, don't worry about just trying to fit it within that box of what it's always been to be a bass player. Find that one little thing that's just a little bit different because the work's out there.
Yeah. But don't you have to take care of business too? You have to play 1-5-1-5, when it calls for that.
Oh yeah, especially the stuff, all my crazy 8 strings and MIDI basses and all that other stuff that I tote, none of that stuff really pays the bills at the end of the day. It'll still be an old J bass.
It sure is fun though, isn't it?
Oh, of course. Yeah. You've seen me being a knucklehead on the NAMM show floor this time. It's like all the crazy stuff is good, and it's, that's where, for me, that's where I go back to my own gig. I'm still a signed recording artist, a label overseas, and they pretty much let me do whatever I want to do. So I'm going to be coming out doing a one-man show with a MIDI bass and firing loops and all this other stuff. So it's going to be fun. That's where I get my little creative nut and that whole thing.
Well, that's a good, healthy perspective because it's realistic yet it's encouraging at the same time. So words of wisdom from one who knows. Well, Sean, it's great catching up with you. I'm glad to hear you're still doing so well. I'm not surprised because you're so good at everything that you do. And we'll do it again. We'll update everybody on what's happening. And in the meantime, keep doing what you're doing.
Perfect.
From the 2016 Summer NAMM Show, Nashville, Tennessee, with Sean O'Brien Smith. I'm John Liebman. You're watching for BassPlayersOnly.com.